Hi, I'm Cy Kellett. Thanks for joining us for this Christmas edition of Catholic Answers. As host of Catholic Answers Live, I try to make the show come together as smoothly as possible, but it takes lots of people to make that happen, and you'll hear from some of them throughout this program. And from all of us to you, a very Merry Christmas. Trent Horn, thank you for being with us.
Cy Kellett, thank you for having me.
It's almost Christmas now, and so we talk about this guy, the nativity scene. But in order to do that, I brought two hats. You have to pick your Christmas hat. Which one would you like to wear?
I'm going to go with the top hat. It seems very classy.
All right. I'll go with the Santa hat.
This is a very, makes me feel like Dickensian is a good word for it.
You are Dickensian. All right, let's talk about the nativity scene.
Let's do so.
Pope Francis had something to say recently about the nativity scene.
Yes, at the beginning of the month, on December 1st, he issued an apostolic letter, Admirabile Signum, which in Latin means a wonderful sign. And he issued it when he went and visited the Italian city of Greccio, or Greccio, I think it's Greccio. And it was there where the very first nativity scene was was put together, if you will, as part of a tradition surrounding St. Francis of Assisi, back in 1223. And so the Pope used this as an opportunity to talk about how the nativity scene is a wonderful way that we can evangelize people during the Advent and Christmas seasons. And I love seeing nativity scenes wherever I can. And he goes through a lot of different elements of the nativity scene and how it's important that it's a great visual representation of an important mystery of our faith. That just as the cross is the perfect symbol of the sorrowful mysteries of our faith, the nativity scene is what's a more universal symbol of the joyful mysteries of our faith than the nativity scene? I mean, you can communicate that without words. Anyone who sees it gets what you're talking about.
By the way, Jesus is not in ours yet. Does the Pope have a recommendation of that, or does he not say one way or the other?
I don't recall from the letter, but that's a common tradition. In our house, we have a nativity scene up, and it is, baby Jesus is not there, and I tell our kids, he's not there yet because he hasn't been born yet, because it's not December 25th. And so each element of the scene represents, part of the nativity story. But it's also important to remember that in the nativity scene, so in 1223, when this first began, it was actually done with actors, people taking on these various roles to reenact the nativity.
Right.
And then later, artisans and carpenters created these little scenes for people to put in town squares or to put in their homes. And each element has a symbolic meaning to it. And it's important to remember because nativity scenes, they kind of take a bit of artistic license with the Christmas story.
Now, is that a problem? Like I've heard people that take some offense if a child's toy gets put in there or something like that. Like the kid says, "Oh, let me put my Grover or whatever it is in the nativity scene."
Well, Pope Francis certainly doesn't take offense at that. He talks about how children and even some adults, he says, like to put other elements within the nativity scene to celebrate the joy of the birth of our saviors. Now, he doesn't use examples from Sesame Street. He talks about the blacksmith, the woodworker, other people being present, and they're just a sign and representation of all of humanity rejoicing in the birth of our Savior. But even the common elements we think are historical actually aren't. For example, you go to Pope Benedict XVI's entry in his Jesus of Nazareth series on the infancy narratives. He talks about how the ox and the donkey that are usually present aren't described in the biblical accounts. But even these, going back to the Old Testament, they are. Oh, you have yours right there.
Well, I think it's a cow and a sheep here, but
right. But they have callbacks to parts of the Old Testament that prophesy about the Messiah, how the lion will lie down with the lamb and the ox and sheep will be gathered together, and they represent the Jews and the Gentiles coming to the Messiah. So there's an element there, and Pope Benedict XVI says no nativity scene is complete without the ox and the other animals, even though they're not present. You take the Magi also as an example. The Magi probably were not present actually at Jesus' birth. In Matthew chapter 2, it says that they came in the days when Jesus was born, in the days of Herod the king, and they went to see Jesus in the house he was staying at the time, either a permanent dwelling or a temporary one. But remember when the Magi go back to Herod, well, they failed to go back to Herod. And then Herod initiates the slaughter of the holy innocents. His decree is for any child under the age of 2 years old to be slaughtered, which doesn't make sense if they had just gone to see a newborn king.
Oh, so so this could be anywhere. They could have come out anywhere up to the age of 2 to visit Jesus.
Right. It could have been his birth, or more likely the Magi came later. Jesus may have been a toddler, only 1 or 2 years old. So the Magi may not have been actually present at Jesus's birth, but they're an important sign of how peoples all across the world, all across the whole world, will be drawn to the Messiah who has become man. So all these elements are important. And one thing I think is important with the nativity scene, especially when we evangelize we talk to our Protestant brothers and sisters.
Yeah.
Many of them have deep concerns about Catholic veneration of statues, or having statues and graven images, thinking it's contradictory to what the Bible teaches. Yet many Protestant churches will have nativity scenes. And you could say, look, just as you don't literally worship baby Jesus in your nativity scene, but it's a reminder of what God has done, that is what we do with our other statues and works of art to remind us of our faith. So it's helpful to share the faith with our Protestant brothers and sisters and with those who are just non-religious. It's something that stirs emotions in people to see the true meaning and importance of what Christmas is all about.
Trent Horn, thank you very much.
Happy to be here.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you, Cy.
Top that morning to you.
Hi, I'm Darren Delosier, producer of Catholic Answers Live. Basically, I just make sure the smart people show up. Thank you for watching. Merry Christmas.
Hey everyone, I am Nick Chamberlain, the audio engineer here at Catholic Answers. And so it is my job to be able to capture the sound and send it off to ytsync-en, to our app, to YouTube, and to Facebook so everyone can hear our show daily. And I want to thank you all so much for listening to us. I wish that you all have a Merry Christmas and God bless.
Tim, thanks for being here to talk about St. Nicholas.
It is great to be with you, and I must admit, I love talking about Santa Claus.
I don't feel at all surprised about that. Before doing this, I started looking up about Santa Claus and the names of Santa Claus all over, and it's all connected to Nicholas. So Klaus would be a common diminutive of Nicholas, but St. Nick, Sinterklaas in some places, Santa Claus. One of my favorites was I saw in Germany sometimes he's called Goden Heiligmann, which means good holy man.
Yeah,
I thought that's good. That's pretty much the definition of a saint.
Yes.
Is he a real guy, St. Nicholas?
You know what? He sure is. And I am not one of those, anti-Santa Claus guys that, just want to demythologize everything about Santa. I mean, there are folks that want to say St. Nicholas didn't exist, or and granted, it's a murky time period. He was born in 270, died about 342, 343,
right?
Maybe a little bit later, and those were times where things were still being written down on papyrus and parchment, and things get destroyed, and so you have to and this is true of really the first 400 years of the Christian era anyway. We have to rely a lot on the tradition,
right? Right.
And that's not a bad thing. It's a good thing because that's the way truth was communicated by the ancient people, and they were very good at it. But when I look at St. Nicholas, and what I say about the demythologizing and all of that, what I'm talking about is in the modern era, we're so quick to dismiss everything as legend, right? If it's miraculous, well, obviously, we put the scrutinizers on and we turn them up to the nth degree, and you end up dismissing things. But, here's the thing about St. Nicholas. This man was so dynamic. And yes, the idea of him slapping Arius at the council, some will dismiss. I tend to believe it happened. Don't tell anybody I said that.
All right.
And the fact that he was even at the council. There is a very ancient list of bishops that has him included. There are some lists of bishops that don't have him included. But he was listed in a very ancient list, and you have this ancient telling of this story surrounding St. Nicholas that is believable. St. Nicholas was a holy bishop. He was a man of God. He was a wonder. In fact, he's called in the Eastern churches Nicholas the Wonder Worker, because he worked miracles both during his life and after his life. Even to this day, Si, there are relics of St. Nicholas that are miraculous.
Yeah.
Right? So there is overwhelming evidence that St. Nicholas existed. I believe he was at the council. I believe he slapped Arius, and he did get rebuked for that. But most importantly, he was a holy man, and some of the stories, and by the way, there's a work by Michael the Archimandrite, who wrote what most scholars say to be the most authoritative life of St. Nicholas. And he had access to documents that don't exist anymore. And so it's important to factor that in too. And you have a lot of these stories coming from that biography of, for example, the intervention of Nicholas in the lives of 3 sisters who were going to be sold into what would have been prostitution. And he dropped gold coins because he had been a wealthy man before he converted. And he had a lot of money, and he ended up giving it all away to the poor. But he did so many things, and among them was delivering these 3 that were going to be sold into prostitution, and he provided them with a dowry to pay off those who were going to take them into prostitution.
And ever after that, he's associated with the giving of gifts. Like, people honor St. Nicholas and his day by giving gifts.
That's right, because it wasn't just a one-time deal. He gave away a lot of money and became a bishop, as you know, of Myra in Lycia, which is in Asia Minor, and just a phenomenal
Which is today
life.
Turkey, by the way.
That's right,
Asia Minor
Turkey.
today, Turkey, but it would be right on the Mediterranean coast of Turkey.
Yeah, and what a life! Not just the miracles and the ministry to the poor and such, but he was persecuted. He experienced the Diocletian persecutions.
Right.
Even after he was made a bishop, he was basically exiled and then was liberated when Constantine came to power and reestablished as a bishop. I mean, this man was phenomenal, both during his life and, again, the miracles attributed to him afterwards. So it's no wonder that the St. Nicholas tradition could lead to something like Santa Claus, which, as my kids know that are listening right now, Santa Claus is St. Nicholas.
Well, he's called jolly old St. Nick.
That's right.
Yeah.
He's not, got a big white beard and live in the North Pole. He's much more powerful than the depictions of Santa Claus on Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer.
He's very powerful
He
as
is
a
much
saint.
more powerful. He is a saint. And my kids know, if you want something for Christmas, pray to St. Nicholas.
Yeah.
St. Nicholas can move mountains. He is a powerhouse and a wonder worker.
And so often is the case, each saint kind of highlights an aspect of Christ himself.
Yeah.
And St. Nicholas is that care for the poor, that generosity to the poor.
Yeah, and how we need that today.
Right.
When you think of, I just saw an article yesterday on Drudge about how much Americans give. And we are a very giving nation, comparatively speaking. But one thing that disturbed me was that in 2019, we had an incredible boom of wealth in the United States, but our giving actually went down.
Wonder what that's about.
From 2018 to this was just yesterday, I read it, and it really made me ponder things and think about the message of St. Nicholas right now.
Right.
Because what this man did, as a wealthy man who converted, he gave everything up for Christ and ended up in poverty. Of course, he was a bishop, but he gave away everything that he had. I think there's a message for us today, because if that article is correct, this incredible economic boom that has come about hasn't led to us being more giving. We're actually hoarding as
Isn't
a
that
country.
something?
And that's
It's a
sad.
weird psychology we have then.
It is.
The more we have, the more we hoard.
It's a horrible thing, but I think St. Nicholas has a message for us right now. And in this now we're in Advent and we're approaching Christmas. All of us need to really think hard about look back over this year and see, have I given more than I gave the year before? And if I haven't, why?
Right.
Because we need to consider the corporal and spiritual works of mercy, as the Catechism of the Catholic Church so beautifully lists them and gives us little short, succinct definitions there around paragraph 2447 in the Catechism. In fact, it's a few paragraphs around there. But folks, this is going to determine whether we go to heaven or hell, according to Jesus in Matthew 25,
Right.
31. I mean, I'm just saying, that's what, according to Jesus, the only difference between the sheep and the goats is what they did and did not do. So St. Nicholas has a message for us right now.
Hello, everyone. My name is Marie Dixon, and I am the assistant producer here at Catholic Answers Live. I screen the calls during the show, help to program for the show, and also work on our website. I would like to wish you all a very Merry Christmas.
My name is David Matheson. I'm the Director of Development here at Catholic Answers. Our team works hard to make sure Catholic Answers has all the funding we need for all of our good works, and we cultivate relationships with our supporters so that they truly feel a part of our mission. Merry Christmas from Catholic Answers.
The planet Jupiter in Babylonian astrology, as in Greco-Roman astrology, was the king planet. Mm-hmm. And there's a very good case to be made that Jupiter was the star that the Magi thought of as the new king's star, because it was the king star in their own system. It's very likely that when they say we saw his star rise in the east, they mean Jupiter.
Okay.
But it wasn't Jupiter alone, because Jupiter rises, almost every day.
But in the context of what the other things they're seeing in the sky,
exactly.
That means a Jewish king.
Yeah,
okay.
Like when if you see a lunar eclipse and Jupiter's there, the king's going to be okay.
Yeah.
But if it's not, Jupiter's not there, it's in the context of this, is it there or not in context of a lunar eclipse. And so it was probably Jupiter in context of something else. Okay. And the question is, what's the something else? Are there possibilities based on what we know about Eastern, say, Babylonian astrology? Yeah. Recently I was reading a book, and this is just a possibility.
Okay.
But based on various things that you would see in conjunction about Jupiter in relation to other things in the sky, there was an omen that Babylonian astrologers looked for that said a king from the west is going to kill the king of Akkad, which was their own king. Now, at the time, Babylon was under the control of the Parthians, and they didn't like the Parthians. Nobody likes to be occupied.
Right.
So actually, the idea of a king from the west is going to kill the current king.
Yeah. Hey, that's good.
Hey, yeah. We could be liberated here. And in association with some of these omens, it was proposed that you send a delegate to seek peace.
Oh.
And so to establish good relations. And so it looks like the Magi may have been fulfilling that function. We're going to go be the peace delegation to try to secure good relations for when the Western king kills our king that we don't like.
Oh.
And so then from a Babylonian perspective, you look west, where are the kings that might plausibly serve? Well, the most important one in this western region was the king of the Jews.
Yeah. Herod the Great.
Herod the Great at the time.
Yeah.
And so they thought, okay, and various other things also could indicate a birth here. And so it's like, okay, it looks like maybe Herod the Great's had a new son. We want to be a peace delegation to secure good relations when they knock over our king that we don't like. And that may have been what prompted the mission. Also, there's a connection here to the book of Revelation. In Revelation chapter 12, John sees a heavenly sign of a woman with a crown of 12 stars, clothed with the sun, with the moon at her feet. Now, this symbol represents Mary because she gives birth to Jesus. It also represents the nation of Israel based on the symbolism which comes from Joseph's dream back in Genesis.
Yeah.
But various people in history have proposed this also may be encoding astronomical information about the birth of Jesus, because there's a virgin in the sky. Virgo.
Oh, Virgo.
Yeah. And it doesn't happen very often that you have the sun in the middle of Virgo, clothing Virgo, with the moon at Virgo's feet. But it did happen on September 11th of 2 BC.
What?
Yeah, or actually maybe 3 BC. In any event, that occurred 9 months after one of these other Jupiter-related signs that the Magi might have seen. And between this 9 month later thing, that could be what suggested a birth.
Wow.
So those are possibilities. There are other possibilities, but those are some of the ones that I find most intriguing in light of the evidence, especially not relying just on Greco-Roman astrology, but looking at Babylonian astrology, since these guys came from the East.
Hey guys, my name's Thomas. I run all the visual stuff on Catholic Answers Live, including the 3-camera TriCaster and the streams on Facebook and YouTube, and most importantly, I annoy Cy in the comments. We all just wanted to wish you guys on EWTN a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Hi, I'm Andrew Hermes. I'm the video producer here at Catholic Answers and the producer and editor of the show you're watching right now. And my job is to basically make the best show possible, picking the best content from our live show and pre-recorded segments, and trying to make the show better and better week in and week out. And I just want to thank all of you for watching the show, and hopefully you have a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Chris Check, president of Catholic Answers, thanks for being with us again.
How are you, Cy? I'm glad to be with you. Christmas is coming.
Would you like a hat?
No.
Oh, all right. You mind if I wear a hat?
No.
Okay.
Okay, that's very festive.
Yes.
It's very, it's very Dickensian.
So we're here to talk about the O antiphons.
Right.
As we approach Christmas, the Vespers of the Church introduces these things called the O antiphons. What is that all about?
So what's an antiphon? An antiphon is like a little summary. It's a compact couple of sentences that capture the theme of what follows, and then well, for example, one that would be very familiar is in the responsorial psalm.
Okay.
There's the antiphon and then the verse and then the antiphon.
Right.
Okay. And the antiphon sort of captures the fullness of the theme of whatever the psalm is. The O antiphons all begin with O, and they start on the 17th of December, and there are 8 of them, and they proceed until whatever that is, the 23rd. You do the math, or yeah. And yes, 8, right, or 7, and 7, and they. So you've heard me talk, Cy, about the Roman martyrology that's read at midnight mass, which locates the incarnation in human history.
Right.
The O antiphons locate the incarnation in salvation history, in the history of the Jews, especially, and so they all draw from Isaiah and then Micah, but mostly from Isaiah. And everyone who's ever sung O Come, Emmanuel will know the O antiphons, because that Advent hymn is sort of a paraphrase. So it's, I wrote them all down here. O Sapiente, O Wisdom, right? O Adonai, O Lord and Ruler, O Radix Jesse, O Root of Jesse, right? So all these things that are coming from Isaiah to point toward the Messiah. So the one for today, 21, O Oriens, O Dawn of the East. In fact, the whole passage goes like this, because they are also said before and after the Magnificat at Vespers, which we do here at Catholic Answers using the Mundaline Psalter. So the one for today, O radiant dawn, splendor of eternal light, Sun of justice, come shine on those who dwell in darkness and the shadow of death. So all these pointers, I know Tim Staples would have a better word, in Isaiah to the incarnation.
I don't know that there is a better word. That's what he's doing. He's pointing towards the Messiah.
Right. Now, there's a tradition that if you take the first letter of each of them in Latin, O Sapiente, O Adonai, O Radix Jesse, O Clavis David, right, and you reverse it, you get a Latin acrostic that goes Erocross, E-R-O-C-R-A-S. Arrow, one word, cross.
Arrow having to do with the self.
I will be there tomorrow.
Oh,
now
beautiful.
because they end on the 24th. Because now some, medieval or scripture scholars or liturgical experts or whatever, killjoys say, no, that's not
killjoys.
That's not really what it is.
Liturgical experts, also known as killjoys.
Right. But you know what? It arranged that way if you reverse it, and that's glory.
So just the exclamation "Oh" itself, it has a power of that. This is something really extraordinary is happening here.
Yes.
That we're preparing ourselves for something really
Hey.
extraordinary. Yeah.
Right. Hey, Siri.
Yeah. right. This is meant to get our attention. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. We at the Checkhouse, we say them also when we light the Advent wreath on these nights approaching Christmas. It's a great tradition for people to introduce in their house the O antiphons.
Yeah,
even if you don't say the office, which you should. Everybody watching should start saying the office.
And you can do it in print, which I know is your preferred way. You prefer everything in print, but you can also get...
You're not going to say it, are you?
You could get Laudate.
Okay, you can get an app. There's an app for that.
You can get an app, I know, but that will help you to kind of easily say the liturgy of the hours.
Anybody who says lauds and vespers, it will transform your life. It will transform your life. It really will.
Okay, so vespers, the evening prayer, is where you'll hear the O antiphons.
Yes, and vespers always has the Magnificat.
Yep.
Right. In the West, we always say the Magnificat at vespers. Right. My soul doth magnify the Lord, and then. And so the O antiphons will precede and follow, they'll frame, if you will, the Magnificat at Vespers during these 7 days preceding.
To give you a sense of what we're doing at this
it's
liturgical
really
moment.
coming. It makes your hair stand up.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
It does. And it makes you have a sense of what we have lost in this 500 years of doing away with liturgical Christianity and replacing it with individualist Christianity. We've lost something that helps us to prepare for the coming of Christ.
The church, in her wisdom and over time, creates a liturgy for a purpose.
Yeah, right.
And it's to educate us, it's to edify us, it's to inspire us, it's to work mysterious things in our hearts that we can't even necessarily express well, or that I can't, but that in cooperation with God's grace, bring us to that perfection that we're going to experience on the other side of the veil.
Without having to do anything, if we're praying the prayers of the church, we are saying in the days before Jesus, O root of Jesse, O divine wisdom, come.
Yep. And he will.
Amen. He will. Chris Check, thank you very much.
God bless you, Si.
You too.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Hey, my friends, Chris Check here, president of Catholic Answers. Merry Christmas from San Diego. I want to thank all of you for watching our television show. I want to thank our friends at EWTN for broadcasting it for us. And I want to challenge everyone who is watching right now to get better in the new year at defending your faith. As St. Peter tells us, we need to have a reason to account for our joy. How are you going to do that? Why not start by visiting Catholic.com, the website of Catholic Answers. There you'll find all kinds of great resources, including our brand new School of Apologetics, to help you get better at defending your faith in the new year. Merry Christmas.